こんばんは。フォーレックス TV ニューヨークのレミです。2月13日水曜日の為替レポートニューヨークレビューをお伝えします。13日のアメリカ株式市場は大幅に続伸しました。ダウ工業株30週平均は前日比178ドル83セント高の 12,552 ドル24セントで終えた。ナスダック総合株価指数は 53.89 ポイント高の 2373.93 で終えた。1月のアメリカ小売売上高が市場予想を上回ったことが好感されました。今朝発表された1月のアメリカ小売売上高は前月比 0.3% 上昇しました。ニューヨーク外国為替市場で円相場は続落しました。市場予想を上回る小売売上高を受けて円売りが優勢となりました。ドル円は108円38銭と1ヶ月ぶりの安値をつけました。ドル円は前日比1円円安ドル高の108円25銭から35銭で取引を終えた。またユーロ円は前日比1円40銭円安ユーロ高の157円80銭から90銭で取引を終えた。それでは ONDF フューチャーズ&オプションズのデレク・フライさんとのインタビューをご覧ください。U.S. dollar gained against the yen to a one-month high. This came on the upside surprise in U.S. retail sales, but while the reaction to the headline figure was dollar positive, there's little change in the overall outlook for the U.S. economy. So while the spec market is long yen, do you expect to see further gains in dollar yen after today's range breakout?
We do. We're a little hesitant to buy into it immediately right now, but we do ultimately see upside follow through. We're targeting a move up to about 110 on this pair. In the near term, being pretty much the balance of the month that we have here. So I guess the bottom line is yes, we do see follow through coming. We'd like to buy it actually on another dip back below 108 if at all possible, but if not, then we're certainly going to put some in here.
Well, Derek, while we're on the topic of the yen, let's take a look at the yen crosses, especially against euro and sterling. We've been seeing significant moves in sterling yen as well as euro yen today. So fundamentally, what's playing out in those pairs, and technically, what's your forecast going forward?
Overall, we're bullish the crosses as well. The crosses tend to follow the dollar yen. Sometimes they lead, sometimes they follow, but by and large, we see follow through on those pairs as well. In particular, the euro yen looking ahead. See that ultimately pushing through 160 later, if not later this week, then early next week. And as far as what's pushing it right now, I think more than anything, it's an appetite again for risk. Remember that the carry trades are essentially a proxy for risk, and we see people kind of jumping back into the stock markets, jumping back into these carry trades. So I think the appetite for risk, or maybe it's better said that the fear of risk that we had the last couple of weeks is starting to abate, and likely to see more and more people come in and chase some of these returns because a lot of funds and firms have been beaten up in this for the beginning of this year already.
Okay, let's move on to the euro and the UK currency. We saw sterling hit a two-week high against the euro in today's session after the BOE inflation report. The bank did raise its forecast for inflation. So if you could give us your forecast for the euro against the sterling as well as sterling against the U.S. currency.
Okay, I'll start with the cable. We're buyers of dips in the cable. We have been for some time. Ever since the SOT-Gen lows, basically, we've been buying the pound against the dollar. We're going to continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Probably the balance of the month is ultimately what we're targeting the highs to come in terms of when. As far as the euro pound is concerned, looking ahead longer term, I would expect the euro to gain against the pound. Probably though not for the next week or two. You probably see that actual pair more or less drift sideways and consolidate. But ultimately, I would look for the euro to begin outpacing the pound, probably towards the end of this month.
Okay, let's shift our focus over to the so-called commodity currencies. Overnight, we'll be getting the employment report out from Australia, and this will be watched for clues given recent hawkish RBA rhetoric. So if you could give us your forecast going forward for the Aussie dollar as well as the Aussie against the Japanese currency.
Okay, the Aussie against the dollar, We've been shorting it every time it pushes above 90, and looking for a retracement back ultimately to somewhere between 87 and 88, at which point we're going to reverse and go long in quite a big way, actually, when we push below 88. So short-term bearish, but longer-term bullish, that particular pair. I do ultimately see the highs that we had posted last year tested again towards the end of this quarter, or the beginning of the second quarter would be when we see those old highs being tested, more than likely sometime in the second quarter, in the first half, I should say, of the second quarter. As far as the Aussie yen is concerned, again, that's kind of another piece of the carry trade, so ultimately I would be looking to buy dips in that particular pair, although I must say I don't trade that one as actively as all the others we've discussed. But overall I'd be looking to, like I said, buy dips in that pair as well.
以上、O&F フューチャーズ・オプションズのデレク・フライさんとのインタビューでした。 ForexTV ニューヨークのレミがお伝えしました。最新の為替情報については ForexTV ジャパンをご覧ください。